This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company here in beautiful Waterloo, Illinois, Mr. Chris Ron.
Hello, good day.
Good day to you, my friend. We're also joined by the other half of the ownership of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Chris's wife, Tammy Ron. Tammy, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. And the last person at the table is definitely not the least. That is our producer, Mr. Jared Chasson. Jared, welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Dynamite.
Good deal.
Yeah. So this is episode 4? 3? 4?
Three.
One of those.
Episode 3 of the Stubborn German Podcast. And so far, we've gotten some good feedback on stuff. And somebody had a question about the ambient sound in the background, and I thought it'd be fun to introduce what is actually kind of a character here on the show. We are recording this in the Stubborn German Brewing Company, so it is a regular business day. There are people here in attendance, so if you hear things in the background, that's what happens here at the Stubborn. So
it's kind of like the 12th man.
It is like the 12th, yeah, or the 9th monkey, or
whatever. It's a beast that's always.
We can measure the decibels like they do in Seattle or whatever.
Well, we have a contest. We can have them clap, and measure.
That's right.
Loudest clap wins. So anyway, that is what you're hearing. So if you like the sound of it, you need to come down and visit because it's a good place to hang out. Right, Tammy?
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Chris, what's the latest? Speaking of the business, this is kind of an interesting episode because we have the two business owners here between Chris and Tammy.
Well, and a third, yourself. So we have 3 business owners, and we thought it'd be kind of cool to do a list episode. So this is our list of 3 things that we have learned from being in business.
Yes. As Chris says, we thought this time would be fun to do a list, and Chris prepares lists for every aspect of his day, including the other episodes.
He even makes lists, and on his list it'll say, make a list.
That's outstanding.
You were not supposed to say that. That I do.
Well, before we dive into to all that, on your list is the German word of the day challenge, right?
It is on my list, and this one I cannot pronounce. It's very long, many syllables.
Before you reveal that, why don't you tell us the premise of what's going to happen here?
Yes. So every episode, we are going to have the German word of the day, and that basically is a supposed to be a long or just funny German word. And we're all going to guess what we think it is, what we think it means. We'll go around the table and we'll document all of our guesses. And at the end of the episode, we will reveal what that actually means. So for today, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. I do not sprechen Sie Deutsch, so I will let Google pronunciation do that. So here we go.
Streichholzschachtel Chen.
Did everyone get that?
Oh, man, you need to do that again.
One more time.
Streichholzschachtel Chen.
Yes.
So Streichholzschachtelchen.
And I counted, and it is 24 letters.
24 letters.
Wow. Word.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that last pronunciation, it has some lineage in Chinese, I think. It's very good, Chris.
The Chen part at the end?
Yeah.
I believe so. So, Kevin, what does Streichholzschachtelchen mean?
That's a great question. I do not speak German fluently by any stretch. I know a few phrases and words here and there. And the only thing I can see in this word that I remotely recognize is the Holz part, the H-O-L-Z.
Yep.
And I'm going out here on a limb. I know a gentleman who has Holz in his last name.
Okay.
And his name is actually Holzapfel.
Oh, nice.
And I was told that means apple wood.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to guess that the Holz part has something to do with wood.
Wood. Something to do with wood. We'll take that as your guess. Something to do with wood.
Oh, wonderful. I was hoping you would take that.
Tammy?
I think it has something to do with potatoes.
Oh.
So I'm going to guess it's like a brand of German potato.
German potato. Okay.
Nice.
What could go? That's actually not a
I'm
bad
thinking
guess.
Make
potato
German
pancakes.
potato salad out of it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
German
yeah.
potato pancakes.
So this is like German for russet.
Something to do with potato.
Possibly.
Yes.
Streichholzschachtelchen.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, that's a tough one. That's a tongue twister. I have zero clue on this one. Strike Holtz.
But that's not fun.
Wood. Let's see. I'm going to say...
He's taking my wood BS.
I kind of like the wood idea. I'm going to say someone who chops down wood, so a woodsman.
A German lumberjack?
A German lumberjack.
German lumberjack it is. Okay.
Say that.
All right. I have tabulated the results, or the entries, and the results will be given at the end of the show.
A lumber Heinz, if you will.
Lumber Heinz. Okay.
All right, so that's going to keep everybody enthralled and riveted to the end of the show.
How could you turn it off now?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I'm hopefully going to learn something from that. And Chris, as you talked about before, there were many lessons learned in putting this business together and your previous business. And you thought it might be interesting to kind of share a few of those. And, of course, you made a list. So because you've got a list, you get to go first.
I'm organized. Okay, well, number one for me. I'm just going to dive right in. If you own a bar or a brewery or thinking about doing that, this is probably the best piece of advice I can give you as far as beer. But people want to drink the beer for the season that they want it to be. So if it's the middle of summer, they do not want to drink summer beers. They want to drink fall beers because they're tired of summertime.
Really?
Yeah, I found that out, and mainly because I'm really bad at using a calendar. I can do lists all day, but calendars, no. So, so it turns out that usually my seasonal beers fall right in the middle of that season. Really, it should be about a month before that, is what I've found. So,
wow, Jared, have you found that to be true?
I guess so. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think people just get sick of the season that it is and are ready to move on.
I mean, I'll drink any seasonal beer anytime, but yeah, I mean. People do get kind of tired of it. The pumpkin stuff, you don't want that.
Yeah, and for me, that is the one exception to that rule. Pumpkin beer needs to be out October 1st and gone on October 31st.
Yeah.
Zero pumpkin beer is consumed on November 1st or after.
What do you think?
I think people want pumpkin beer in August.
Certain people have the pumpkin thing.
Yeah, you start seeing it coming out on shelves at grocery stores in August, I feel like, and people are so excited about it. But yeah, by the end of fall, they're over it. They're done.
I think I'm kind of optimistic when I see a beer on the shelf at the store or something coming up on tap here. In the wintertime, I really want it to be spring. So I get that. It's like, if there's spring beer on tap, that means it's coming.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm always looking forward to Oktoberfest. So I could drink that in January. It wouldn't bother me.
Sure.
Does that violate a rule?
No rules here.
Awesome.
We make that all year round, actually. So there's no rules against drinking Stubborn. Or we call it Stubbornfest, but that's our Oktoberfest. We do that all year. So yeah, that's my first one.
Multi-month fest.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, Tammy, we're going to put you on the spot next.
All right. I think my first lesson that I've learned in business is don't spread yourself so thin. I feel like we've had a few opportunities where we've been wearing multiple hats and doing too many things at once, and then we're just not good at it because you just physically cannot do that much work in a day or a week. So,
how do you get around something like that? Or how did you guys
You have
get
to
around?
let something go.
You have to say no.
You have to say no, and you have to let something go. So before we owned our auto repair shop, I worked at WashU in St. Louis, and so I would work at WashU full-time during the day and then go to the auto repair shop and do all the paperwork. And we had a child at the time, and it was really hard. And it's like, if I could quit the WashU job, I could do more paperwork at the shop, which would take work off of Chris, and then he can work on more cars, which will increase our car count, which will increase the money coming in. So
then you could start a brewery.
Exactly. Yeah. And then kind of the same thing when we started the brewery. I was at the shop full time, so I was doing all of that work and then doing the brewery work in the evenings, and it's just a lot. So I realized that once you say no to things and you let things go that maybe you were really passionate about at the time, but that's kind of shifted a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really opens up your time so you can focus on what's important. And right now it's beer.
was going to say, just don't say no to the brewery, and we're all good.
That's right. And Tammy's been able to, by doing this, been able to work on events a lot more. Like I feel like, 3 years ago, we kind of really hit our stride on having. I mean, we had something going on. I feel like every single day of the week there was something. It might not be a big thing, but I mean, yeah, she organized all kinds of events and fun things to get people to come in. So,
well, there's no doubt that. Both of you guys work tremendously hard on this place to make sure all the T's get crossed and the beer gets brewed and everything else. But you're right. I think my wife and I run our business, and she runs it more than I do for sure. And in the beginning, you have that sense of, I need to be in control of all this.
Right, yeah.
Or it's going to fail. And you don't realize that, well, you might not be the right person for this job. So it's also very difficult in the beginning of something to say, well, I'm going to hire somebody to do that, I'm going to hire somebody to do this, because you don't necessarily have the financial revenue to do it, which kind of leads into the lesson, the first one I wanted to share, and that is kind of what you said about focusing on the beer. So many people start a business because they're good at something, and what a business requires to run is not the thing that they're good at, right? So Chris's case, it's brewing beer. In my case, the things that I do well are video production and marketing and some car stuff, design and that kind of thing. But I don't know anything about payroll or insurance or real estate or human resources or any of that stuff, right? And as you grow, in the beginning, there's only little pieces of that kind of stuff. You only have to deal with maybe one employee or two or whatever. So, and Kelly luckily stepped in and handled that stuff. But as we grew and grew and grew, we've got 20 people on staff now, and there was a point when I found myself doing far more business management and strategizing and putting out business fires and not doing anything that I did when I started this. And it's this giant disconnect, and you're like, what happened here? You know?
Yep.
And it took us a while to realize that, no. And to your guys' point, I should be doing what I'm good at, because that's what helped grow this business. And you get somebody else to do the other stuff. And Kelly was smart enough, as we grew, to add people in key positions and technicians that are far better than I am at any of this stuff. And that grew the business even more. So I think you have to watch out for that, and you have to anticipate if you have an idea, right? So somebody has an idea for the next great widget, whatever it is, and they're a widget maker and they're going to make 1 billion widgets. Along with making the 1 billion widgets is 1 billion other challenges and positions and things that you need to know. And if you don't know those, you need to partner up with somebody who does.
Yeah, very good.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Chris.
Yeah.
So, along what Kevin just said, what is Tammy good at that she needs to focus on? And you can say the same thing for Chris. What do you think she's best at that she does here?
What isn't she good at?
Right, I know. It's everything.
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think where her value is a lot of those events. Honestly, I mean, between her and I can dream up some crazy event or whatever. She makes it all happen. Like if there's whatever, if it's Stubborn Fest, for example, there's permits with the city, there's insurance. We got to get bands, we got to get a stage, we got to get. That's a lot of stuff we got to do coming up, huh? But I like how he looks at you and says, "We have to do."
Right, exactly.
Did you catch that? But no, I mean, other than, honestly, being the glue that holds everything together around here. I mean, I feel like that's one thing that if it were just me here trying to do this, we would have 0 events. There'd be nothing. It would be a little boring.
Yeah, well, it would have a different landscape for sure.
Absolutely.
Still have great beer, though.
Well, yeah.
That's true.
And that's what Chris is really good at, is coming up with the recipes and brewing the beer, and he just does an excellent job of that. He's had to let go a little bit of some of that control just because it's just too much. So we have an assistant brewer here that helps us. So he came in, the assistant brewer, Jeremy, came in at 10 o'clock today, and he finished off the brew day so Chris could go do distribution and do all the things that he has to do to make the business work. So, but he's really good at brewing beer. He can brew some beer.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think what I've found is that the growth, strategy or program is that it's not that you, in your case, relinquish control and have somebody else doing the same capacity that you do. It's just they pick up some of the tasks along the way.
Sure.
So you can delegate some of that stuff, and then they work with you to still create your vision of what these beers should be and kind of follow the lead. You're not just saying, well, I'm only going to do these three, you do these three, and we're going to cross our fingers if he likes it. Because, and that's the challenge with scaling. I'm sure people have asked you, when are you going to open up another one of these? Because, people want this experience somewhere else. And the problems companies have is, the guy that started it is in this facility,
and there's only one of him.
And there's only one of that person. And the next lesson I'm going to jump into right away because it fits is establishing a set of standards for what you do so that you can have other people do things to your quality level and your standard. And that takes doing, because for you to articulate what goes into a beer and for Tammy to articulate what the key things are for an event, these are things that you just kind of know right now until you go through and start to write them out in a way that you could say, all right, well, and not even if you're going to have stubborn German South or two or, a different one, but even just if you expanded and you wanted to be able to step away and pursue other projects to say, okay, well, if you're going to do an event, these criteria need to be met to meet our standard. And what we find is that in our shop, we've been in business for almost 17 years now, and there are people that have been recent hires that didn't grow up with us, and they don't know all the history and know all the things that we went through. So for them, it's like, well, how do I unplug a big chunk of my brain and stick it in somebody else's head and say, this is how you do it?
Sure.
and that's something that I will tell people also. So as you're developing or whatever your initial idea is, it's far easier to document along the way, what makes it special, so that if somebody else needs to step in or you get big enough to where you need to hand that off, somebody else can take the reins and roll with it.
That's good advice.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It is.
You sound surprised.
Well, rarely do people tell me that.
I like that one. That's good. That's good stuff. Okay. Feel like if you're listening to this, you're getting your money's worth here.
Yeah, it's free and worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. My second one, if we're moving on, is basically kind of to be aggressive and trust your gut when you're making decisions about expanding your business, growing your business. And I have a couple specific examples for us on this, but basically, and I think in a previous episode we talked about how during COVID we purchased a canning machine. Well, we should have just bought that machine on day one, but in typical Chris and Tammy fashion, we don't jump into anything. We stick our toe in the water and go, oh, is that okay? Maybe we can do this a little bit, and we kind of.
The word stubborn comes to mind.
Yeah, just, and I don't know, probably conservative and just afraid, honestly. But yeah, we bought this little $500 or $600 canner, and we were doing it basically the cheapest way you can possibly do it, and it got us by a little bit. It got us to where we were like, okay, we kind of like the idea of having our beer in cans. We liked coming up with labels and names and all that stuff. That was all kind of fun. And people kind of wanted it. So, and then COVID hit, and people, that was the only way to really get our beer. So we really went after it then. But then we, ended up selling that cheap machine and bought the good one. It would have been nice if we had that machine when COVID started. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't we just trust ourselves? Mm-hmm. We knew this. We knew we were headed that direction. So why do we dip our toes in and do that? And the second example, we I don't know if you gentlemen noticed the bright shiny tank sitting out back if you parked out back, but we bought a new tank that expands our capacity quite a bit. And I don't know. That probably was a long time coming. We probably were due to make that purchase a while back as well, to expand how much beer we can make, because we've been going. We've been out of our flagship beer, which is Stubbornfest. We've been out of that. I don't know, more times than I care to admit here lately. You make it and it goes away, and make it and it goes away. So. this will be able to, having this extra capacity, we should be able to keep these year-round beers that we call them year-round because they're supposed to be available year-round, and they're just not all the time. So this should help that. And, again, we should have pulled the trigger on that months back, but, it's just how we are. We think...
We tiptoe.
We do. We tiptoe.
Tiptoe too much.
We're afraid to,
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely logic in that. I mean, the last thing you want to do is overinvest in something and then it doesn't work, right? And so my wife Kelly, who is the operations manager at our business, she is one who recognizes early on that we need to do something, and we'll do it. It's on.
Nice. Can she come here?
Well, yes, she can. And it's an interesting situation it puts you in because. Our fear, because I put myself on the conservative side like you guys, our fear is that if I buy this, it isn't going to work, and then I'm in trouble. And what Kelly does is, no, we're going to buy it, and because we bought it, you're going to make it work.
And now we're going to figure it out.
And
someone will get trained on it, and we will do it right.
That's right. And she's also smart enough to say, and let's step back and say, well, what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if the big canning line didn't work? What happens if this tank isn't full all the time? What are you going to do? Well, you're going to sell it, or you're going to scale back, or you're going to figure out something else.
Yeah.
And so those are great examples that in your mind, as the business owner, seem like end-of-the-world
for sure.
prophecy if it doesn't work.
How much sleep have we lost over all this? Just the two examples I'm talking about. And that's just two.
But as a third-party observer, I look at it and say, that's a small component of what all the moving pieces of this place. So.
Sure.
And it's a big check to write, too. And Chris and I, we don't have investors in our brewery or anything, so it's not like this stuff is cheap. So when you're writing a big check, you're just nervous.
Yes, and I stay out of that department in our business because I can't do that. It's tough for me to spend money. But I have learned, again, through the coaching of Kelly, who's far smarter than I am at this stuff, that both of the things that you guys invested this hair-raising amount of money into are here to make you that money back. That's
the idea.
Well, yeah, but it's not. I look at things like up to today, like I'm going to purchase a new computer, and it's going to be this computer. It's going to be really expensive. It's going to be sitting on my desk. No. But as we go forward and you use that, all of a sudden it pays for itself. Definitely in your case with those other things. So hopefully that takes a little bit of the sting out of writing that check, and it's motivation to keep it moving.
For sure.
That's true.
Yep. It won't be empty.
Well, and then it'll fill back up.
And then we'll fill it back up when it is.
Yeah.
So the second thing on my list was be open to more of Chris's crazy ideas. It's a little hard to be married to a stubborn German.
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, boy.
But I'm admitting this publicly, but sometimes I give him a little bit of a hard time on certain things, and I push back a little more than I probably should.
No.
Because sometimes his ideas are just really far out there. But in the end, if we go through and follow through with them, it all ends up working out. And I shouldn't have even pushed back, and I should have just been more cooperative. So I'm trying to scale back on my stubbornness on that. So
you had a good example.
I do have an example. So every fall, Chris releases our Bach beer, and he has a Bach beer, or we have a Bach beer fest, where we just celebrate the release of the beer. And so the very first year, he's like, hey, let's get so Bach is a style of beer, but Bach in German means goat. So Chris is like, hey, let's get a goat and let it walk through the brewery.
Why not?
Why would you not do that?
We're going to let it walk through the brewery, and it's going to carry a wagon of the beer, the Bach beer. And I'm like, no, that is crazy.
Well, and you can teach goats to make change. People could buy it right off the wagon.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, so I pushed back for a little bit, and then finally I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it.
I think you said, wait, I know a farmer.
Yeah, I did. So we ended up doing the whole goat thing, and it became tradition for a few years. And, people loved it. They ate it up. They came here to watch the goat. They were taking videos of the goat, bringing in the beer, dropping the keg off at the bar. It became a really fun event. And then we got notice from the health department that said you should not have a goat in your brewery.
It said ixnay on the goat.
So we had to stop that. But it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
And people loved it. And that's just part of the culture here at Stubborn. So.
I can think of one example where you pushed back, and I still think we should do it, but she still put her foot down. Okay, so you've been in some of these German butcher shops where they just have sausages hanging from the back behind, and you just say, I want 8 inches of the smoky back there. Yep. Well, so picture this. Above our draft towers there, you've got this pipe hanging with a bunch of smokies just hanging there. That was my idea. We were going to have the meat market in town, make a bunch and just hang them there. And, people, as they get hungry, just, give me 4 inches. And the bartender would walk up, just cut it and hand it to him. And she said no.
I said no to that one for sure. And I kept my foot down with that.
Yeah. It's not a terrible idea, Chris.
I'm telling you, how awesome would that be? You'd walk in the door and you'd be like, boom, look at all that.
I just don't feel like it fits with our brand.
Well,
sausage?
I think it kind of does,
fits with any brand.
That's what I'm saying.
But a big distinction of this operation is that you guys don't sell food. And
correct.
That's kind of the thing that I would be concerned with, because I don't know a whole lot about this, the regulation side, but I think if you sell food, it's a whole new ball game of stuff, right?
It is, yeah. That would have been, and what
here
the way
comes
we
the
were,
health department again with the goat.
Yeah, wait, didn't you just have a goat in here?
It would change the smell in here, but that's for sure. So.
If you look up there, I think the eyelets are still up there. But we did hang it, and I did have sausage hanging right above the draft towers for a day.
For one day.
One day.
Yeah, so I went through, because a lot of times that's the key to you just got to show her what. Just here, look how awesome this is.
But look,
I was like, close your eyes, and then I walked her in the front door. I said, now open them. She's like, take it down.
Well,
take it down.
Good work. Take it down.
I mean, it could be. That's half the deal there is the visual, and of course the other half is you want to actually eat it. So a synthetic fake sausage wouldn't really cut it.
Yeah,
it looked cool
true.
Until someone's like, I want some of that. And
that's not a bad idea though. Well, and it smelled so good too. It smelled like smoked
but
sausage.
We're a brewery. We're
delicious.
not a smokehouse or
a sausagery.
Yes.
Luckily for us, right next door, Shorty Smokehouse opened up not long after that. So
right, so you win right there.
Yeah, I still get the smoked meat, so we're good.
Yeah. Well, and that's so. In successful businesses, you need somebody who's a visionary or who is a little crazy, to kind of come up with stuff. But I think in this case, and again, there's parallels between in my business with my wife, I kind of have Chris's role of coming up with these things. And when it's somebody with skin in the game, the things that you come up with aren't potentially dangerous to the business, right? The goat and the sausage, it's not like, hey, I want to put a water slide in the middle of this place,
And a beer slide.
Well, that's an idea. But
we'll talk tomorrow, Tammy.
Yeah. But, now you got me thinking about that.
Yeah, right?
In this case, you still have to be responsible for, the bottom line and everything else. If you had somebody who just worked here and who wasn't, when you say you didn't have investors, you guys are the investors. You invest everything you have into this place. If you had an employee who was just somebody who hired, to come in with ideas, and if they said, we're going to put a water slide, you're going to be like, no. Because they could quit and leave, and you're stuck with it.
Yeah, well, that'd be ridiculous. But if I said it, it'd be awesome.
Well, and that's the thing. And so unfortunately for you, a lot of his ideas carry some weight because he's part of the team here.
So I'm trying to not be so hard on him.
How did I get so lucky?
Yeah. Well, no, that's good. I mean, what I hear is in my business, it's sure you can do that. You got to make it work. You got to figure out how to do this. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't want any part of this, but go ahead. Yeah.
Right. And Kelly and I have a joke because in her world, she comes up with things, but they're not necessarily in the business side. It's in the personal side because she loves animals. And I remember vividly, we were driving across country, actually go to an automotive trade show, and she's looking out the window and says, I want a bear. Right? So here's the wild idea. And the last thing I'm going to do is say, no, you can't have a bear. That's crazy, I said, sure. Okay. Do you know where to get one? And she's like, yeah, I think I know where we can get one. I know there's a guy that's got one. And she kind of went through the process of thinking about getting it, transporting it, feeding it. How does it smell? Where's it going to live? And then she's, yeah, I don't think I want a beer anymore. And I went, okay.
You didn't even have to say no.
No. And
Instead
I
of arguing with her,
this might be a tip for Tammy. Sometimes just let him go with it, and he might just talk himself out of it when it's. You got to ask some key questions. Hey, that's a great idea, the beer slide. So where are you going to get the slide? Where can we get the pumps? Where can we get the bathing? Are people going to borrow bathing suits as they go down this? And then he's going to be like, "Oh no, wait, I didn't think about that."
oh, I love it.
Yeah, you'd go down the beer slide, wouldn't you, Jerry?
I would go down the beer slide for sure.
Absolutely, you would.
That is awesome.
That's great. All right, who's up next?
I guess I am, and this one is I guess my side has been kind of advice, lessons, things, but something that I think is a challenge today in business is, and I'm going to blame social media. I'm going to blame a lot of different things, but there seems to be a consumer versus business mentality. And here you might not get it so much because you invite people in to have a great time and to, share the experience. Not to say that somebody doesn't come in here and become a problem, but what I see is just the other day I got roped into a YouTube video that I didn't choose, and I just ended up watching this. And this guy has a channel, and all he does is buy footwear, and then he cuts it in half with a bandsaw and points out how it's all garbage. Right? And this particular one, he bought a very famous brand of boot. And he said, all right, I paid $155 for these boots, and let's see what's in them. And he's pointing out how trashy they are and how they're not worth the money. And the headline of the video was that the manufacturer should be ashamed of this thing, right? And I'm thinking, so now the people of the boot company have to deal with this guy, right? And he wasn't even an upset consumer. Like, he didn't buy these boots and wear them out or slip and fall. This is just he's looking for something.
Just being a jerk.
Well, and in his mind, he wasn't even being a jerk. I think he thought he was maybe being like a consumer advocate.
Oh, okay.
Like some kind of spokesman for the masses. But because everybody's got a voice now and everybody's got social and the ability to do this.
Yeah, look at us.
Everyone's got a podcast.
I know. Exactly. You wouldn't believe who they let have podcasts these days.
Crazy.
So I think a new concept that needs to be considered if you're going to go into business is empathy. And as a business owner, you need to gain customer empathy. And if you're a customer, it's in your best interest to gain the business's empathy. So you guys kind of do that here. Somebody comes in and they order a beer, your bartender gives them a smile, talks to them, chats with them a little bit, and that connection is made right away, which is great. But if you order something on Amazon and a box comes, you didn't meet the person that poured it for you or made it, in your case. Yep. And it's real easy to be distant from that consumer. And it's real easy for them to go, I couldn't get the lid off this box. This thing's terrible.
Piece of junk, right.
Right, and then light you up on social. Yeah, as opposed to, I think as I'm a consumer of things, what even if something doesn't go right, there are things where I'm not going to light that person up because I know them or I understand that this is a tricky thing and whatever. So the more empathy you can build going both directions, I think the better everybody's going to be.
Yeah. Gosh, and I'm just thinking that the guy's going to come in here and buy a can of beer and try and cut it in half.
Well, he might. It's not unless you could wear it on your feet.
Yeah, but he might branch out,
I hope not. I don't even know how I got stuck watching that, but I'm kind of glad I did because it cemented this idea that it's a different deal. It used to be, and I used to when we first started our business is very complicated. We have long-term customer relations. Restoring a car could take a year, could take 2 years of working with this customer. And in your case, yours can be as short as a 5-second transaction. It's over. And there are times when I envied people that are at a coffee shop. Hand me this and you hand me the money and it's done. It's not as gratifying as what we do because you get to really know this person and see this thing get built. But in your case, you're kind of doing both because I don't think anybody's ever come in here and had one beer and left.
That's true. Bet you can't just have one.
Didn't somebody already say that? That's good.
I said it again.
Yes. So
I like it.
You guys achieved that here, which is good.
Cool. Is it my turn?
Sure.
All right. My last one, I have changed. I made an edit on my list. Note that the docket has been changed.
Did you get it approved?
I did not, so I hope it's okay. But my last one is pretty easy, and it's the most cliche thing ever, but just be yourself. Like, if you're in business, you can't, you got to stay in your lane. Like, you got to do what you do, kind of, what we do. Just put your head down and just work. Do what you do it to the best of your ability, and everything else is going to work itself out. It always has for us in our situations, and I just feel like it always will, as long as the effort's there and you're into it and you're passionate about it. Just an example, I guess, like as we were a pretty young brewery, we kind of struggled with, an identity crisis. Like, where do we fit? Where do we fit just in the bars in Waterloo? Where do we fit in the brewing scene in the St. Louis area? What's our niche? All that stuff. And, eventually as time goes on, it's just, you just got to do what you can do. And that's it. That's where you are. You can't try to be something else. You can't follow trends if you're not doing that already, So
we're not going to see stubborn German softballs or...
Probably not. I mean, you never know.
You got to listen to your own advice, pal. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's my last one. Tammy, you got one more?
So my last one was, I also made a mistake with our alt beer, which if you've been in here, alt beer is a beer that we have on tap all year round. It's a German beer, and it literally means old beer, the name. And it doesn't have a flashy name. It doesn't have a flashy logo. And I'll be darned if there's one beer that was our best-selling beer during COVID, it was alt beer.
Yes, alt beer wins.
I kind of give Chris trouble for that too, because when a lot of people come in, they want, fruity beers or not German style beers sometimes, and I'll be darned, alt beer was the number one selling beer all through COVID. People would buy kegs of it.
Kegs, yeah.
Kegs.
We can't keep COVID. We can't keep alt beer in stock right now. It's pretty wild.
Well, it's a really good beer.
It's delicious.
But it's just not like the fanciest beer, not the sexiest beer out there.
No, and that's the reason I've always pushed back on again, that we're going to keep making it, is that I think that's probably one of the top one or two beers that we make here as far as to style and just to drink. There's about a 50% chance at any given point that the beer in my cup is alt beer. It's not right now, but it will be next. I guarantee it, since we're talking about it.
The other 50%.
Yeah, the other 50%. Yeah, of the two beers. So, So it's just it's to style, but yeah, we kind of left it purposely as just a boring name, boring logo, and it's just it is what it is. We made shirts now that say "If you know, you know," and it has the alt beer logo, which is just the word alt beer on the front.
Well, I think that's a pretty cool thing, because I would be nervous if a flashy, hyper seasonal gimmick beer was your most popular,
like Cerveza.
Well, you might have experience with it, yeah. But if it's a flash in the pan thing, that means it can go away just as quickly as it came. People's taste change and it's over. But if you've got something that it's reliable, people like it, they know it. It's consistent, it doesn't have to be flashy. And if people come back for that one, that's your base, man. That's good.
Yeah,
then you can have the other ones and not have to depend on, boy, I hope they like this one with, papaya and newsprint or whatever, So that's good, because, some of those others, it's like, oh, this is fantastic, you got to try it. And everybody likes one glass of it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I will say alt beer was one of the first beers I had here when I knew nothing about craft beer or anything. One of the first times I came here, and it's part of what hooked me in was alt beer. It's like, this is good stuff. Yep. Wow. So if you're not sure and you want to come here and you don't know what to get, try the alt beer.
Try the alt beer. It's the regular's favorite. I guarantee you that right now, what is this, a Wednesday night? There's 10 people at the bar. I bet there's at least 5 alt beers up there right now.
Yeah. I've had my share of it for sure.
We always say we can't call ourselves a German brewery without having an alt beer on tap.
That's right.
And most people don't make that style, so
yeah, it's
pretty unique.
Yeah. Yep, that's good. Well, this was all very enlightening. Good stuff. We actually got some good advice, got some good lessons, some good theories on how and when to do stuff. But what we have not had yet is the answer to what the heck this 26-letter word is.
Oh, you must be talking about
Streichholzschachtel Chen.
Yeah, fancy that.
Love it. Okay, let's see. Let's recap our guesses here because those were fun. Kevin said something to do with wood because of the holes part. Tammy said it's a German potato, and Jared thinks it's a German lumberjack.
I rode his coattails a little bit.
Yeah, something to do with wood. Wood is actually not bad because it means matchbox.
Aha!
Yeah,
All right.
Did you not know that Streichholzschaltschken means matchbox in German?
Strike wood. Right?
Yeah.
Against the box.
Yeah.
So Hackelchen
The
is
box.
wood. There's a box, I mean.
Yeah, maybe something is fire in there. I don't know.
I don't know, but I think I could see Streichholz being
Strike
a match.
is
striking a match. That's very good.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Teamwork.
So I won
Sure.
because I lost
Kevin
pathetically
wins.
last time. My gosh.
Yeah, you guessed the date, I think, last time.
Yeah, something in November.
Right,
think
I
is what
believe
it
so.
was. Yeah. All right. Well, this was great. This is very insightful. This is a nice group of conversations. Tammy, we appreciate you joining us. Hope you come back for more.
It was fun.
Absolutely. And Jared, of course, always a pleasure, especially because
Thank you.
you're in control of this whole thing. Thank you for controlling it. And Chris, always love to spend time, and we encourage people to come here to the Stubborn German Brewing Company and ask Chris about his next crazy idea. He's always happy to share those, unless he thinks
give
you're
me
gonna
one.
steal them. Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, the well is running dry.
Right. So for our esteemed panel, I'm Kevin Ostie. You've been listening to the Stubborn German Podcast. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure you punch that subscribe button. You can hear this anywhere you want on podcasts. Because you've already heard it, it's kind of silly to say, hey, you can listen to it, but you might want to find your favorite podcast app to make it easy to listen to. Look it up on that, and you won't miss an episode of the Stubborn German Podcast. So until next time, thanks for listening. See you then.